Get one or two. Okay, I see where quorum just arrived in mass here. We do, but we got the whole crew here. Okay, guys, we only have one bill today, and we've got Chair Smith here on Senate Bill 970, and going to extend some latitude today on this bill. You'll see why when the Senator presents the bill. So, Senator, why don't you start off with 970, and you take the time you need to present the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Senator Smith here to testify on behalf of Senate Bill 970. If you remember in February 18th this year, there was a terrible fire in my district where 17 people were injured. One person died, Melanie Diaz. This is her family here, who was 25 years old and a graduate of Georgetown University, and a shining star in our district, in our community. Her father's here, Caesar. Her brother's here, Oscar, and her younger sister, Odala, are here. They've flown up from Florida. The fire was something that was preventable. In Montgomery County, we have over 80 buildings that don't have sprinkler systems in the units. And according to all assessments and accounts, if there were sprinklers in the actual apartment units and or fire extinguishers throughout the building, this is a completely preventable tragedy. And we don't know the exact cause of the fire, but we do know that, and we've got our firefighters here from Montgomery County supporting. So I want to thank you all for being here. That the Arrive apartment building, if equipped with the proper equipment, this could have been prevented. Now our sprinkler laws were last updated in 2019 by the State Fire Marshal's office. And the older high-rise buildings at that time were given until January 1st, 2033 to come into compliance with the new sprinkler requirements. So the new construction is equipped with this, but as you know, we now have a full decade until these 80 buildings in my district have to come into full compliance. And it's important to note that this legislation does not change that requirement for the installation of automatic sprinkler protections in existing buildings to that January 1st, 2033 date. It should also be noted that the requirements by the NFPA, which is the National Fire Action Code, it's like a model code, are referenced by the State Fire Marshal. They've been adopted into COMAR in Maryland. So those are all things that are kind of in code, in regulation now, but we have not put them into statute. So the fire, essentially what the bill does is it requires the installation of smoke alarms in public corridors accessible by units in high-rise buildings. It requires that each unit in a high-rise building have a fire extinguisher if the building does not have those automatic sprinkler systems. It prohibits a landlord from requiring a deaf or hard of hearing tenant to pay for the notification appliance. It prohibits a landlord from requiring a tenant to reimburse the landlord for the cost of installing smoke alarms. It requires certain high-rise buildings to protect automatic sprinkler systems or to have that protection installed by that January 1st, 2033 date. So it puts it into statute instead of just in COMAR. And it requires certain high-rise buildings to post notice that at all main building entrances and to provide certain notice requirements in a lease agreement indicating that the building is not protected by the complete automatic sprinkler system. So if you don't have it and you're not in compliance by 2033, you've just got to put it in your lease and you've got to post it at every entrance of your building. It also requires the Department of Community Development, in coordination with the State Fire Marshal and the Maryland Department of Energy or Emergency Management, to identify funding resources that are available to the owner of the high-rise building to aid the owners in meeting these requirements. These are simple steps that we can take to bring all of our buildings across the state, but the 80 buildings that are in my district into compliance more rapidly so that tragedies like this don't happen. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the latitude. Apologies for the emotion.
No
But
apologies needed on that one, this one.
at this moment, I'd just like to give Melanie's family a little bit of time because they
Yeah.
flew up here from Florida.
Yeah, we're gonna waive our normal, sponsor only rule here on this one. You came all the way from Florida. We'd love to have you say a few words. So however you want to start, just take the mic and tell us your name. So, because we're streaming this out live. So tell us your name and then say a few words.
Okay, first I want to thank you all of you for this opportunity. My daughter was a really nice person, 25 years old. And like he say, this tragedy can be prevented if this law will pass before. I know some of you agree with what we try to do with the law. Some of you are not, but what I can tell you, today you will be back home and see your son, your daughter, mother, father. I don't have the opportunity anymore to see my daughter. And just asking you, please be in my shoes and pass the laws, not just for my daughter, for everybody else, because yesterday was my daughter. Tomorrow can be one of you or your son or any member of your family or any friend of you. I know that, the fire department is here to support everything, but what I don't understand, how come 11 days before everything happened, the fire marshal went there and say everything was okay. And at the day of the tragedy, nothing worked in the building, and many issues happened there. They got like a air extractor. The hatch was closed because the building decided to build a pool in the roof and seal the hatch to make a deck. And I promised to my daughter to fight for all the voices, because many people living in low income places and they don't have voices, and if you pass the law, you will save so many lives in the future, many lives. It's not about the money, because even if I got the money in the future, nobody's going to return my daughter. And for me, my daughter, it's more important. So please do the right thing for everybody. Do the right thing. That's all I'm asking you. Just do the right thing. That's all. Please do it for your family and for everybody else. Thank you.
Yes, go on. Whoever would like to say a few words next.
Okay. First of all, thank you for having the time to meet with us. Like my dad said, a lot of this could have been prevented had the building passed certain measures, which this bill is addressing. And with this bill, I believe that a lot of people, not just in the Arrive building, but buildings all across Maryland, will be better protected, and many lives can be saved with the implementations of this bill and what this bill is hoping to address. So I ask, regardless of what your personal political stance is, to think about the people that you represent and to think with your hearts and minds, and hopefully we can work together across whatever side that we are on to work on something that will save lives and prevent more fires like the one that took my sister from us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well,
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Solivaro. I'm Melanie Diaz's fiance. I met Melanie at Georgetown University. We're both on full academic scholarship. I'm currently at Georgetown University School of Medicine, M1. I want to tell you a little about Melanie. During her time at Georgetown, she was able to secure an internship at NASA, where she used satellite imaging to help the government be able to direct resources and funds to places being hit with natural disasters. She worked in the Office of the Surgeon General to help address health disparities. And upon graduating, she procured a job at her dream job, which was at the Aspen Institute, working in the energy environment policy. Day of the tragedy, When I went up to her room, it was smoky, and I had to actually go down the same stairway that my partner passed away. She lived on the 11th floor. I went down one flight of stairs. I found her keychain with the light still on. Apparently, from the fireman's report, it was so dark. And it was so dark you couldn't see with the flashlight. On the next flight of stairs, I found our Australian cattle dog and our Chihuahua's leash. As I went down and I entered the 9th floor, I found our puppy pads. And finally, when I got to the 7th floor, I found one of her Nike shoes. And on the 6th floor, I picked up her last shoe. We were supposed to make our engagement public in the summer. And I was supposed to we were supposed to begin our careers together, more so than we already had. I tell you this story because I don't want anyone else to have to go through what I did. I don't feel like enough is being done in the interim. I know there's another law in the process, and many other people may say we already have a similar law. What's the purpose of this one? It's to do something in the meantime and to address it. I met the individual who pulled the fire alarm outside of Melanie's vigil. He came at 2 a.m. And he was feeling guilty. And I said, "Why do you feel so guilty? You know, you're a hero." He's like, "Had I woken up 5 minutes earlier, I could have pulled the alarm." The fact that this man is losing sleep because he wishes he could have pulled the alarm earlier shows that our current system is not at work when it depends on other people to do. Mind you, this man had to pull the alarm twice to activate it. He pulled it on his floor, he crawled through the smoke, went to another floor, and then only then did the building's fire alarm actually work. The building also is not retrofitted with hallway smoke detectors. So essentially, it's an antiquated system. And although I'm not a physician yet, I see how health and public policy go hand in hand, and this is opportunity for growth here so that our community's health isn't further damaged. When it comes to the sprinkler system, I imagine funding is an issue. I imagine there's lots of polarization. I just don't want to see that date pushed forward anymore to 2033. Again, I urge you guys to support this bill, not only in honor of my fiance, but of all the other lives that could be saved in the meantime. So thank you. I appreciate all the effort from the Office of Senator Smith, the firefighters behind me, and all of you guys. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Did she want to say anything? No. It's I'm a little like Senator Smith on this one, but there's no words. I don't think that I could say that's going to be adequate here. Other than to say, I think as a group here, we're obviously very, very sorry for this huge loss in your lives. With that said, you made a trek all the way here to Florida from Florida, and it's great that you were willing to do that and tell that story. With that, Senator Smith, are there questions? We actually have a bill. And so, when somebody presents the bill here, then they have to sometimes respond to questions from the committee just to understand how the bill works and that type of thing. So that's kind of part of the process. And so with that, I want to thank you for your testimony. And at this point, are there questions for the sponsor, Chair Smith? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Just wanted to make
Sure.
sure that, of course, thank the family for being here and for advocating and for Melly's fiance, but also for firefighters that have shown up in support of this bill, but also to Councilmember Kate Stewart and Delegate Laura Tracutian, who have really led this effort in drafting this legislation and rallying the community. So I want to make sure that I thank them as well.
That concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 970 and safe travels home. And that concludes our bill hearings for today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And everybody, you're obviously